Is the MCU crashing and burning, or will Wolverine and Deadpool save it? Is X-Men 97 destined to reinvigorate that childhood dream that was the original show, or is it another Disney Plus trash show? Is Palworld the greatest video game there's ever been? We're going to talk about all the latest movie, TV show, and video game talk right here. Let us go into the Bugle. Thank you for joining us today. I am your humble host, Maverick King, joined today by Rembo. And across the oceans of the internet, Jason Cedars. We have lots to discuss. You can check the timeline of this video in the description to check out if you want to go to a specific TV show, movie, or video game that we're going to be talking about. Please check that out. But thank you for joining us as we talk about the biggest thing that's going on in the world seems to have captured the internet's imagination as to whether or not the MCU superhero movies as a whole are crashing and burning. We have a massive bomb that happened at the end of last year, 2023, which was the Marvels. Everyone knew that movie was going to bomb, and it did. And now we've gotten Sony's Madam Web, another bomb of a movie. And now everyone is like, this is the end of superhero movies as we know it. However, Deadpool and Wolverine, aka Deadpool 3, got a massive positive response on the internet when it debuted its trailer on the Super Bowl. Fair to say, Deadpool, the first one, smash success, great movie, perfectly nailed the character after it was originally DOA until a trailer leaked, or not even a trailer, but a what's the word for it?
Images.
Concept almost like
pre-rendered. It was like a pre-rendered CGI trailer or a scene for Deadpool that leaked on like a Comic-Con, and then it got everyone excited, so then they greenlit the movie. That got Deadpool going, and then Deadpool came out and it was great. Deadpool 2, it was okay, but it wasn't nearly as good as the first one. This trailer, Rembo, you are Deadpool guy. You were Deadpool guy well before everyone else was Deadpool guy. How do you look at that trailer, and does it give you hope, or does it take hope away watching it?
Relative to the state of how the movies have been post Endgame, I'd say it gives me hope. I think Ryan Reynolds is as Deadpool is about as great of a casting as we've got for any superhero to date. I think he's right up there with Robert Downey as far as how like an accurate portrayal of what the original source material is supposed to be. He nails the level of like insane, zany, fourth wall breaking. Everything he does works really well. I wasn't a huge fan of Deadpool 2. I thought Deadpool 1 was a great small movie, like a just self-contained story and all the characters work. Deadpool 2, maybe not as much. I thought it was like just that whole little Australian kid thing was annoying, and like, why wouldn't I would rather a movie just been about Deadpool and Cable, and that kid seemed like it was really weird secondary thing that should have been there. But for where the MCU is right now, I do like the fact that this movie is basically going to make or break the MCU entirely. If this movie comes out and critics rail it and it sucks, I think that Marvel's going to have to just tank everything. I think they're going to just be like, nope, no Secret Wars, no Kang Dynasty officially. Like, I think that'll all be officially scrapped, and they'll just have to basically go back to the drawing board, take a couple years off, and come back for it. So that being said, the trailer doesn't really show us much. It just shows the TVA and him being given an opportunity. We don't know what the mission is. And that he's going to go and recruit or be partner with Hugh Jackman, who I don't like bringing Hugh Jackman back. He has a perfect arc. A perfect arc. Through all those movies, you give him the crescendo with Logan, and then you're going to be like, and now he's back. It's a cheap way of trying to get people interested in movies. I'm not going to say I won't be excited to see him, but it's just, is he going to do anything with the character that is necessary? Or I guess I could just turn my brain off and be like, it's fun to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Me next? Where you want to go,
Always
Mav?
Jason.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I couldn't be more excited. Like, this is, I think, exactly where we need to be headed with the MCU, because I think what you were talking about, Rim, they had that come to Jesus moment, I think, with Miss Marvel and Secret Invasion, like kind of last year, where it was this lost so much money and lost so much interest and lost so much focus from the fans that they have scrapped everything except for this year. This is the only Marvel movie we're getting this entire year. And I think that that's exactly what we needed as the fans, to see that they're focusing, that they're not spreading themselves thin with 90 shows and 60 movies coming out in 1 year, So this is, I couldn't be more excited. And I absolutely loved Loki. Like, Loki season 2 was incredible. And I love how we're building off of what the TVA and kind of what they established. But I'm going to have to break down this trailer a little bit more. But I think when he's standing in that room of the TVA, the sacred timeline is still before how season 2 of Loki finishes. You guys familiar with how it finishes, Loki 2, where it's a completely different screen of what the timeline is. The sacred timeline is now like this tree where it goes in there, and the sacred timeline before was this line going across with a lot of extra timelines going off of it, and you can still see that in the background. So I think this is going to be sometime between Loki 1 and Loki 2. So it's going to be this cool jumping around multiverse thing. So we're not gonna actually get the Logan that we know from Logan, like ending there. That Logan's done. We're gonna get a different Logan. It's gonna grab a Logan from a different universe or a different point in his life. So, because you're absolutely right, that was a perfect ending to his story. So they're gonna take another version of Logan and give him a different story, kind of thing. So, I am so happy. Like, it was a lot of fun, like, seeing that, and like his toupee, and and then how it starts off with them singing, and the pegging comment where looks at the screen is like, this is new for Disney because they haven't been owned by Disney yet, and we're all thinking that they're gonna PC this whole thing up, and we're still gonna get that like R-rated kind of Deadpool that we're used to. So, and there's so many like little Easter eggs just in that. Like, I think Doctor Doom was in that preview. Like, you see some guy with a coat and like a metal face, and he has that like almost like a
yeah, I thought about that for a quick second.
Yeah, so maybe we're getting the introduction of Doctor Doom, or a version of him, for when Fantastic Four and stuff comes out. So I don't think this is even a finale, or this is like an end to the arc of Deadpool. This is us like getting me almost reinvigorated in this whole multiverse kind of Deadpool thing, which I could not be more excited. Like, this is exactly, I think I've said many times, I love multiverse shit, and this is going to be like every scene is going to be someone different from some movie, or some best friend that Ryan Reynolds called some favor in for, like, hey, Patrick Stewart can kind of want to be in this, and for a second, or Ian McKellen or something like that. Like, I see that happening. So yeah, I think that's probably my number one movie for this year.
I think this movie will be a smash box office sensation. Regardless of whether or not it's good, the way everyone's very hyped about it, bringing back Hugh Jackman, it seems like regardless of whether or not it gets good critical reviews, it's going to make a ton of money. And so I think it's the worst possible thing that could happen to the MCU, because really, you need a purging fire. You need the MCU to die, to constantly have box office failures, so that everyone gets fired. Kevin Feige, just everyone that's at Marvel now needs to go. They need to go. And unfortunately, this movie is going to make a ton of money, despite the fact that it seems like it's mostly being made by Ryan Reynolds and his group, not the typical MCU brass. So this movie's going to make a bunch of money. It's going to give people that shouldn't be at Marvel longer leashes. And maybe the future will be good. We'll talk about Fantastic Four in a little bit. But this movie, I have no idea. Based on the trailer, I have no idea if this movie is going to be good. It's a teaser, so who knows what comes next. But I do like that we don't get any big CGI shot of big CGI metropolis or big CGI city or anything like it. It's just very practical. The gun clips floating in the air. I mean, it does look like it's really cool, and the cinematography looks really cool. So there is hope there. Whether or not the movie's good, I have no idea. How they handle bringing in former characters that were in other movies. Is this going to be Deadpool kills the MCU and like it's going to be that? I don't know.
That would actually be a really good take. It's just him killing a bunch of like people that everybody likes. Like, he just shows up and kills all the old X-Men. Patrick Stewart shows up. He just cuts his head off. Like, Pyro's in it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, Pyro. Yeah.
Of all the people to bring back, like who is sitting on the sidelines being like, we need Pyro back in the MCU?
Well, that's what they probably did. They went through all the movies, everything. It's like, okay, who hasn't gotten a second shot, or anything? But yeah, you're right.
So
I mean, there are I do agree that it does look a little bit small. Like outside, it's just like him fighting guys and like some cool practical effects and like everything kind of seeming more small scale. And I do think that's a good thing. I do 100% agree. It most likely will make buku bucks, and whether it's good or not, and even if it is good, it doesn't matter because the movies that come after it are gonna suck anyway. Like. There's no way. What's the next movie that comes after this? Blade? Oh, Blade's a disaster, dude. They've changed directors and writers for that movie, I think, like 5 times before.
Now they do have the writer. So the word on the street was that Mahershala Ali was out because of all of the changes. But then they brought in the writer for Logan, and then that brought him back in. So maybe,
interesting.
Maybe the 5th writer change will be the trick.
I hope so.
And
we've seen like those situations.
Now it's going to be rated R. Instead
You've seen the situations work out so well in the
now
past.
It's going to be rated R.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude, that's the thing. It's such a basic winning formula if you just do the right thing. Make it rated R, make it super violent, make Mahershala a badass, and make it mostly about him. It's hard to mess up, but that, my faith in the MCU right now is very all-time low.
I think they hit rock bottom already, and this is the rebuilding here. This is the refocusing, and the people who kept their jobs hopefully are the ones that'll move this forward. And there's probably been a lot of firing that we haven't heard of, except for the bigwigs.
I mean, they're still talking about making an Eternals 2. Like, these people are dumb. I mean, dumb. I mean, the fact that they haven't just pretended that movie didn't come out already, and they're already trying to think of how to make Eternals 2. These people do not know what they're doing. So that's the big thing. The other big thing is Fantastic Four has now been announced. The cast for Fantastic Four, which I should pull up here. Yep. Jason, who are the cast members for this movie?
Vanessa Kirby as Mrs. Or no, Miss. Oh wait, Miss and Mrs. Miss.
The Invisible Woman.
The Invisible Woman. Wow, I butchered that one. I thought it was like Miss Invisible.
Trying to say she was Mrs. Fantastic.
I almost said Mrs. Invisible. Yeah, I was like, that's not right. So Joseph Quinn is playing Human Torch, and Eben Moss Barach is playing The Thing, and Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic.
What are your thoughts, Jason, on these? We had a lot of different rumors on who was and was not going to be the Fantastic Four. Then now it is official. How do you feel about it?
I fucking loved Cousin from The Bear. I don't know if you guys watched The Bear, but Cousin is probably one of the best characters in it, and that's who Eben Moss Barach plays. And there was just an interview with him on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, and he actually got a little details out where it is going to be motion captured, CG'd, a lot like how they do the Hulk. So it's very similar to what Ruffalo went through. Is they're going to do him? So I'm really glad about that. I thought they were going to do some costume like they did with
Michael Chiklis.
Chiklis, yes, that's right. Chiklis was the last one, and it was a bad costume. And they even there's interviews of Chiklis being like, dude, it was torture being in that outfit and all this sort of stuff. So it's got to have some effect on the character and the actor and whatnot. So I couldn't be happier with him playing that, because I think he talked about how he grew up on the same street that The Thing grew up on in the comic books. So he is
in Yonkers.
Yeah, so Yancey or Yonkers Street is.
Yancey.
It's a fake street in New York. It's not real, but the street that it was based off of, I think he grew up on. So it's like he couldn't be more of The Thing, And if you've seen his character and stuff, he's rough and grumbly and all that sort of stuff. So I'm all about that. Pedro Pascal, Mr. Fantastic. I think any role Pedro Pascal could do, he would crush. I mean, I saw some meme or something like that. They're the only 2 actors in Hollywood right now are Pedro Pascal and Chris Pratt. Those are the only 2 that they are in everything. And I was like, And what is wrong with that? I fucking love those two guys and put him in everything, you know. So Pedro, and as long as they do like the gray on the sides, good on him. I'm sure they can pull off the Mr. Fantastic look. But and honestly, I don't know who the other two people are at all. So I don't know Vanessa Kirby or Joseph Quinn of what they've been in, and so that might be good to have some fresh names as far as some old names too. But just with the casting, I'm already on board.
Vanessa Kirby is the only thing I've seen her in is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 of 47.
She's also in one before that. She's also in the one with Henry Cavill.
She is?
Yeah.
I guess it's just been a long time since I've seen that movie, so I saw that when it came out, and that's it. So I guess I forgot. But
one and done on a lot of those Mission Impossibles.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Mrs. That's her. She does look exactly like
Sue Storm,
Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, pulled right out of a comic. So I like that. But and then Joseph Quinn is some rando dude from Stranger Things season 4, where he plays a loser D&D player who like try to act tough like a biker guy at the same time. He's not fucking hot at all. Human Torch is supposed to... We went from Chris Evans, Michael B. Jordan, to Joseph Quinn. And that is an absolute travesty for this fucking character. Human Torch is supposed to be hot, and he's supposed... Literally, it's literally part of the character.
He must be attractively hot and actually flaming hot, yeah.
Yes. And... just no. Like, that dude's talking like he's gonna be the flirty, like he's supposed to be very similar to what the Flash is in DC, where he's very flirty and very like kind of girl crazy. Joseph Quinn ain't that guy. And is Eben Moss, however you say the hell his last name, is that guy Mr. Stud Astronaut? That's the guy he's supposed to be playing, Mr. Stud Astronaut. That's like tough guy who's gonna beat up guys because he's from the hard streets of New York. I don't think so. And is Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal, is he super genius, socially awkward, not like a personable character? No, Pedro Pascal's very personable. It's like I think that's such a miscast, because I was watching, and now I didn't put this show on myself. My lovely fiance, Tony, put on the show Bones. And I think everybody's seen Bones, whether you like it or not. It's just one of those shows that everybody has seen at least a couple episodes of. Yeah. The way that Emily Deschanel plays her character is like, she's super intelligent, really like master of her field. But the con of that is that she's like completely socially awkward. Not just socially awkward, but just misses socially inept. And where she like misses beats, and she's not super personable. And she says things like super bluntly and super bold, like, because that's just the way her brain works. And that is true to real life, where highly intelligent people, the more intelligent and specified like that you become in a given field, typically there is a social ramification for that, because you spend so much time on developing this one part of your brain that you lose out on these other things. Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Iron Man, has a very specific personality where he's very playboy billionaire, you know, but Reed Richards is not that guy. Reed Richards is supposed to be very black and white. And he's a leader of his team, but everything is very black and white, and he's he's supposed to be like one of the most intelligent people on Earth. And I just don't believe Pedro Pascal is going to be a believable super genius. We haven't seen that in any of the characters that he's played in anything major up until this point. Last of Us, Game of Thrones, The Mandalorian. He hasn't done that yet. And so I will like to be wrong. I love Pedro as an individual, but I do not buy him as Reed Richards.
Those are good points. Yeah.
I don't think Reed Richards is supposed to be that socially awkward because he is.
Not socially awkward. I was giving her just as an example, but more
Yeah.
so like not somebody with a bubbly personality.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a charismatic character. He's
There
not,
you go.
but I mean, he's still a leader, as far as like as the team goes and as far as MCU. But I mean, he's like one of the bad guys, in the like the Secret Invasion, kind of timelines, or Civil War. He goes on the versus Captain America side where he clones fucking Thor and like makes him part of their team to fight Captain America. So he does some dirty stuff, in the MCU, and he's made some bad decisions. He's almost like villain level stuff, but so he has some like different qualities that I thought that Pedro could bring to it. Where I mean, Krasinski, like I felt like he could bring almost the smarts. Where I don't even. As I'm saying that, I'm like, but he's a little bit more believable as a scientist than he is as Pedro Pascal,
He's
like
a little
Krasinski.
more boring.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, leading actor of a movie, that you got to be a little charismatic, along with like, I feel like being charismatic is easy. You need, and then you can teach them all the other stuff. Like we can teach you how to be sciencey, but we need you to be like when the camera's on your face, people want to watch you. Kind of thing. I'm not gonna get some nerd that no one wants to pay attention to, but you're perfectly cast for this role. So yeah, I imagine that was a very hard one to cast. And but yeah, I love me some Pedro, so I think I'm a little biased on that one.
It just feels like there's too many spinning tops. I mean, like Remy talked about, but like the casting just seems very strange. Other than Vanessa Kirby, no one really fits the mold of who you would imagine them to be. Pedro Pascal, and then the biggest thing, it's not just the casting, because the casting can be weird, but it can still work. I mean, there's plenty of examples of people were like, how is the Brokeback Mountain guy playing Joker? Like, there's plenty of examples of guys that nobody thought was gonna be great, and then you see them in the movie and it works. So I'm not gonna just say, oh no, these guys suck, but the way that the rumors were about this movie's production, and that originally they were talking about how they wanted Sue Storm to be the leader of the team, and I can already see Pedro Pascal kind of being like in Last of Us, where he's kind of just the weird, like, quiet guy that gets told to do things by Sue Storm, and then Silver Surfer's gonna be a chick. And it's just like,
no, they're not doing that.
I think there's just too many forces here that are just gonna pull this movie in the wrong directions. That I just feel like it'd be really hard for me to see this movie being this great like representation. Oh, the only thing that I'm like, yes, this I like, is the rumor that Javier Bardem is Galactus. I do love that.
Yes.
And see, I think they're going to get back to like classic storylines, and we've got to say these things. Like, yeah, they're not going to go like, okay, how can we change everything up that everyone knows? Because like you said when we started this, is they've realized their faults, and I think, and they're trying to like start it new.
No,
They learned their lesson.
The whole point of this is that they haven't realized that they've messed up.
I am optimism. Remember that. So remember that you need to be on this
what of
optimistic-
positivity.
Yes, remember I'm the paragon.
The MCU leaders have learned their lesson as much as Draymond fucking Green learned his lesson. Okay,
No.
They have not.
There's no way they have not realized their faults, especially from bank accounts.
Jason,
Okay, the money has not come in. Remember, that's all that matters to these people is money. And they realize money did not come in with the choices that we made. So let's make other choices and see if the money comes in. So I think we're at that level now.
See, that's the thing, is that Monica, the lovely Monica, and I were discussing this earlier today, and we were discussing this very thing, is have the studios learned their lesson. And the results are coming in. The box office bombs are happening. Nobody's watching these expensive TV shows on Disney Plus. Yes, that's happening. But there is a quote from, this is a quote, the direct.com has an anonymous Disney executive that was quoted as talking about the bombs of their studio. Now, like you said, Jason, maybe these executives have learned their lesson. Maybe they're like, hey, maybe we should try to make like comic accurate characters and good characters with good writers, not recycling writers from Morbius that have never made a good movie in their lives, and we're keep entrusting these movies with terrible people. Have they learned their lesson? Well, I don't know, Jason. An anonymous Disney executive has addressed how politicized audience members have criticized the movies like the Marvels. Quote, make better movies becomes code for make movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes, unquote. That is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that suck at their jobs. Their movies suck. And instead of being like, you know what are we doing right? Like, we have a problem. We're not making money. How do we fix this problem? They're like, it's the audience. They're the bad guys. I'm great at my job. I don't know why my movies aren't making money. So no, Jason, they're not learning their lessons clearly.
This is no different for an NFL coach losing a season and then him getting canned the next season. There's not going to be like, we'll get you one more season because we love you. It's the exact thing. Your results are all that defines if you get more. So they had to.
The case, Jason. Why do the writers for Morbius keep getting work?
It's Morbin time. That's why.
They have blackmail. They saw a studio exec run over 15 babies. They recorded it. That's the only logical.
I hope it was Kevin Feige. Oh, I hope it was him.
All right, remember Morbin time? Remember that? I think Morbius.
Forget.
Morbius is a funny thing that you brought up because they actually felt like they did something good. Remember that? Like they were like, wait, all the internet's talking about this movie. Let's re-release it again, and it bombed fucking again. So yes, I think they've learned their lessons to these, and they're like, hopefully. But Maverick, I like you had a quote ready to dismay or to go against anything that I say. It's like, oh, I know Jason's gonna take this stance. Let me get this quote ready for him to burn his ass.
Listen, we here at this is a Into the Bugle episode, but we here at Last Page and Into the Bugle, if you've watched any of our episodes, we do not get political. There's a whole section of the internet that handles the politics of Hollywood and movies and all that stuff. I'm not really interested in talking about that stuff that often, but when it comes to why are we here and why has Marvel just been broken, it's because of politics. And that just generally speaking, it's because they've put politics over just getting good writers and a good director and a good vision. And that is kind of where we are. And there's no way to talk about why the MCU has sucked without addressing that. So that's why I brought that up. But I don't really want to dwell on it too long.
Nope. I think it's a perfect.
Jason or Remy on Marvel stuff.
I think it's a perfect segue into X-Men '97.
Yeah, I mean, while we're here, Remo, any last thoughts?
No, I think you mostly nailed anything that we could talk about. And if anything other, I think X-Men '97 will be a good kind of segue for the next part.
So one of the most beloved cartoons of all time. The X-Men I always get the year wrong. 91?
92.
92?
So it ran for that many seasons? I thought it was like three or four.
5 seasons.
So 5 seasons.
It's 92 to 97.
Okay. So it's one of the most beloved shows. Groundbreaking for the time. That show came out. Then you had Spider-Man, Batman, wait, now my brain's broken. Is Batman 91? Wow, God. I need sleep.
92.
Anyway, that era, the early 90s, was a revolutionary time for cartoons, for comic book cartoons. X-Men's a big one. They tackled so many storylines, did them so well. All the characters are perfectly represented. The music, obviously, is iconic in and of itself. So it was kind of a surprise it wasn't a surprising considering that they just like to bastardize all their own properties. However, when they said that X-Men 97, a sequel series that's going to basically be a sequel to the original show, it was like, oh, how are they going to do this? They said that they're going to bring back, the actors that are still alive.
Yeah, original cast.
That they're bringing those back to redo their voices and stuff. And now we can watch the trailer for said X-Men. Jason, I would say you are our resident X-Men, powerhouse. You have gone through so many of the comics. You've seen the TV show. You watched the X-Men 97 trailer, and what are the thoughts that flood through your veins?
I wish there was sense. Yeah, no, it does flow through my veins. The love. I wish there was a video reaction of my face as the trailer was happening, of me starting like this and finishing like
If you could create a meme, or what meme, like what do you have a meme that like pops in your head of what represents your thoughts?
The Drake one, where it's like new X-Men 97, and then seeing the preview itself. That's the first one that popped in. I mean, I could not be more excited about this. Like I can't even count how many times I've seen the episodes, which I think I need to rewatch the very last one because I didn't realize Xavier died as I'm saying that. But it was like, I am so hyped for this, and then watching that, I was like, I cannot believe this is what that I've been hyped about, and almost to the point of like, I might not even watch it. I'll see what the reviews are like on the internet or someone else's reactions before I do, because I mean, cash grab, bastardized piece of shit. Those are the first things that come to my mind when I'm like, who did they give this to like do this?
Paragon of positivity, Jason Cedars.
This is like when you do X-Men wrong. This is when you see the other side of the coin. The two sides of the same coin. We haven't got to use that one in a while.
Terrible job, Jason.
Hey, we hadn't
take it back.
We hadn't used that one in a while, so I could not be less excited about this, and I cannot believe this is the product we've been hyped about for so long.
Yeah, dude, it's just like, you guys. I think the animation might be worse than the original, dude.
Worse.
Like, it's like with that clip of
Magneto
Wolverine running straight at the screen, and I think Cyclops is behind him.
Gambit on his back.
Gambit's running. I'm like, it's so choppy. It's like,
and he charges his blades while on his back. It's like, oh my God.
It just was like, you guys didn't. All of the cartoons that come out, Mav and I talked about, of just with the Batman Beyond concept art dropping and it looking like Spider-Verse, and there's been a wave of cartoons that have been like, we're going to do something different than the basic Pixar, like not really realistic, but like mostly humanoid. Now we're getting a wave of cartoons, the Spider-Verse movies, Puss in Boots. There's another one which one?
TMNT.
Oh yeah, TMNT. Like where artists are getting very creative with what they're gonna do with animated movies now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then this is the shit that we're given. Like, you guys put negative dollars into making this quality. Like, it's so bad, and it's so and
weird.
It's so weird. It doesn't even feel like it's coming out in 2024, and it sucks because I'm like, that original show is so fun and so good, and the characters all feel like they're pulled right out of the comic. Like, they do a really good job,
except for Morph and Jubilee. Remember,
for Morph and Jubilee, which
that's the whole point of the show. Is to
I
put
just have
Morph
to ask.
and Jubilee.
I have to ask. Morph allegedly is going to be a non-binary, non-gender conforming character in the year 1997 under the Clinton administration.
Yeah.
Are they going to do because this is a sequel, are they going to do used to be Kitty Pryde,
Elliot Page,
formerly Ellen Page? You know, in her show, The Umbrella Academy, she transitioned in between seasons, and they like made it a part of the thing, where they were like, they made it part of the story. Are they gonna really tell us that Morph is having a gender transition in 1997, and he's changing his pronouns, something that didn't exist in 1997? Like,
well, remember, they've been doing that with Mystique for a while. Because
don't even fucking get me started, Jason. Don't even dare get me fucking started.
I mean, Mystique is now a futa. I forget the term.
Oh yeah, futa. Yeah, dude. She has a vagina and a penis at the same time.
A cock-bearing chick.
Yes.
And that might sound insensitive, but no, this is a category of anime porn where it's like a chick. It's not supposed to be a trans person. It's a chick with a giant dick. That is a futa. And that's that's basically what they've done with Mystique, has made her that so that she can be the father-mother whatever
Nightcrawler.
of Nightcrawler.
She's Nightcrawler's father. She used to be the mother. Now she's the father.
A bunch of furries run the Wolverine or the X-Men universe now for Marvel.
More, yeah, dude. But yeah. So the idea, it's just like that's just a classic. Like, they don't have the time to make this a good cartoon, but they have the time to figure out how to introduce a non-binary character in a year and a place that doesn't make any sense at fucking all. I 100% believe this choice was made after Gen V came out. After Gen V came out, and they were like, oh, hey, look, they have a character that transforms and is a shapeshifter. And they're not, yeah, I know. And they're non-binary. They're gender transitioning. Maybe we'll make Morph. It's just, again, it's just Disney making, it's just
I'm a boy.
it's just Disney making decisions based on what they think is the most progressive thing that they can do. It's
interesting.
Progressive dysmorphia. This term that I haven't created.
The most political thing we've done today, folks. If you hated politics, I'm sorry. What's up with Trump anyway? What's going on with Biden? He can't even buy a shoe.
Should I stop?
No, keep going.
Okay. So Disney has progressive dysmorphia, which is body dysmorphia is when somebody who works out a lot, and you don't even have to work out. It's somebody, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you swear you see something that's really not there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bodybuilders are classic because they focus so much on their aesthetic that they look at themselves and they actually don't they develop super insecurities with themselves, and they look at themselves and they're like looking and they're like, oh my God, my legs are so small. My legs are so fucking small. I need to get my legs bigger. I need to take more steroids. I'm not big enough. Like, it's never enough. And so that's why you get these guys that look like fucking insane ballooned humans, because it's just never enough. That's why you see people with crazy, horrible plastic surgery, because it's never enough. You start here, and then it's just like, oh, it's just gonna a little bit of filler here, and a little bit of lips here, and a little bit of Botox up here, and it's just, and then they come out looking like John Travolta. It's just, it's never enough, and that's how Disney is with their it's never. I like the idea of being inclusive. I think it's important that not all movies are just a bunch of white dudes running around saving females from, I think that's important. But Disney has taken it so fucking far where it's like, how are we going to include a non-binary character in 1997 in a cartoon sequel where there never was a character like that? And it's so maddening. But you can see it, and it's so obvious. That's why it's one of those things that I like. It's so obvious where their priorities lie that they're just like, we're gonna put the lowest amount of effort into making this a good show that we can, but while we're at it, we're gonna make sure to put in our progressive character because that's what's important.
And it's unfortunate because the X-Men are progressive, are the most progressive, literally from the 60s in the civil rights era. They're the most progressive group that there's been. And these are established characters that have been around forever. And unfortunately, it's like, instead of creating new characters that are new X-Men, and this is basically why Gen V, the gender-bending character really works in Gen V. Why? Because it's a college campus in 2023. A character that could bend their gender would obviously have different pronouns. That just makes total sense. It doesn't make sense for a show that comes out in the 90s, and what the X-Men have been since Disney's bought it is, what's that? Is that Iceman? He's gay now. Is that Mystique? She's got a cock. It's just, that's what they do, and it's so disingenuous to the original characters that were created years ago. And then, so there's that issue. And again, maybe the show would be great, and if the show was great, and if Morph is non-binary, it really wouldn't matter. Because you just be like, the show's great, who cares if he's a they, them, who cares? But when there's that, and then you take away Rogue's ass, the biggest crime in the history of the planet.
Dude.
And again, if you're not familiar with this show, we're a very bunkable show. Remy talked about earlier that we need a hot Human Torch. We're not getting a hot Human Torch. This is a travesty. So this goes both ways. We want hot and sexy women and hot and sexy dudes in our shows and movies, especially if that's a big part of their identity. A big part of Rogue is that she is a Southern belle, just oozing sex appeal, oozing charm, charisma. She's a badass. She can kick. She's one of the strongest X-Men that keeps getting stronger as she gets more powers as time goes on. She's one of the most interesting characters in all of comics. And she's also super hot and sexy. And what do? They chop her ass off. They just chop it right off.
I didn't even.
Why?
I didn't even notice that. I wasn't even noticing that.
Oh, I did.
You might not have noticed, but your brain did.
One of my brains did.
Magneto's face at the very end, the eyes or something, come to me, my X-Men. You know, something about that. That was the final nail in the coffin for me. It's like, yeah, I don't even know if I'm gonna watch it, and that's crazy for me to even say. So it's crazy for it to go that way, super hype, and then going to like, I don't even care.
I mean, everything. I didn't really watch season 2 of Loki. I watched season 1. I thought it was fine. I thought there were some moments that were good. Apparently season 2 is much better, but I just haven't gotten there yet. Everything else that I've seen on Disney Plus, I watched Percy Jackson. It's made for really, really, really young kids. And I think that's just what Disney's MO is with Disney Plus, is just spend the least amount of money, maximize profits, and make the cheapest, easiest, lowest common denominator type of shows that they can. And I think this is what this is going to be.
Or spend a shit ton of money on Samuel L. Jackson and have a shitty show.
Oh, I mean, yeah, literally. Spend an entire budget just to get Samuel L. Jackson in a trailer.
Of course, it wouldn't be an episode of the three of us if we didn't talk about the art form that is anime. The big new anime that has been brought to us by the wonderful folks at Netflix that everybody can't get enough of their great quality movie and TV show content. Well, now the Avatar, The Last Airbender, one of the most popular animes of all time, has been live action adapted.
Yeah.
Well,
Here's the thing.
Oh God, what is this?
It's technically not
Nickelodeon. Yeah, this is Nickelodeon.
It's an American-made Nickelodeon show. It's just very much inspired by and in the style of anime.
Oh, really?
Technically not an anime.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna
ask
ask
some
Google.
original Avatar, but it doesn't
Google.
fall in that category. Yeah.
Is Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime?
He doesn't trust our opinions, but it's Google.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
All right. Google's stupid.
No, he was wrong. It's like, oh, this
All
must
right,
be.
so it's not an anime. Then why do you watch it, Jason?
It's animated. Anything with animation is I'm all about.
So if I go to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated show, it's in English. There's no. It's not like an original dub.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so I stand corrected. I always thought it was just some anime show. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See, that's why I have you two jamokes here to correct me on stupid shit like this. Anyway, go ahead, Jason. You both are Avatar fans, correct?
Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm.
So, and you've watched how much of the original 1,000 seasons?
No, that's just the thing. There's only 3 seasons.
What? Okay, so
Dude, I know. I was gonna say that's the crazy part. That's how good the show is. It's supremely popular, and it's
like
awesome.
24 episode seasons probably.
Yeah.
It was big
Yeah.
seasons. Yeah.
And there's only 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jason, you have watched at least the first episode of the live action adaptation, right?
I have. Yes, just the first. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, does it do the show justice? Give for people like myself, because I clearly know nothing of this, obviously. What is the basic premise of the show, and what is the adaptation trying to convey?
It's crazy how this has been bastardized by M. Night Shyamalan. So, we've had versions of this already. You know, original cartoon, which you described, and then M. Night Shyamalan, and now we're getting a live action. I can't remember who the director or producer or anything is now for Netflix. Original one, very Nickelodeon, very kid, very probably under 10 was target audience, but it is. I don't have to get too nerdy, but. The Avatar is someone who embodies all 4 elements. It's someone who can control fire, wind, earth, and water. And this kid is the new one, but not as excited about becoming this avatar. And then when it's time almost to become it, he ends up getting trapped in ice for 100 years. And so the world goes on without this avatar, and it's kind of like the whole show is about him coming back and getting the world back to a normal state. And this show wanted to take an angle of an adult version of the Nickelodeon show, which I kind of like those ideas. We're making something maybe a little more adult that we grew up on as kids, that this is a 20-year-old, maybe a little less show, and now the adults that grew up with it, let's make a show that they'll enjoy in an older age. But when you do that, you take away a lot of the nuances and a lot of what brought you to it, of it being somewhat kiddie and somewhat slapsticky, somewhat playful. And they ended up eliminating all of that from this one, where, I mean, the first couple scenes is his mentors getting murdered and him finding the bones of them, and like having to go through very horrific kind of situations where the cartoon was so good at alluding to a lot of these horrible things that happened. Fire Nation ends up murdering the entire Wind Nation. You never see that happen. It's always spoken of. It's always this very like thing that happened in the past that we're all trying to recover from. Well, they show this in full extent in the first episode, where we did not need to see that. You know, it was almost better that it was this thing that we had in the mind of what these atrocities that the Fire Nation did. So them to put it on screen almost kind of diluted that. You know, it didn't make it as powerful of what this Fire Nation did. So it's very interesting, the route, and maybe I just need to give it a couple more episodes, but it's already putting a bad taste in my mouth of, you're trying to do too much adult stuff to this and not, you know, embodying what the show was, you know. And it's almost hard to watch because they didn't cast the characters correctly. They're not, I keep going back to One Piece every time I'm watching this, where they really figured out who to cast these characters as far as live actions for these animated ones, and they just didn't do it justice. So feels rushed, feels a little bit like jumping on the bandwagon of this show that's still talked about 20 years later, even with a sequel, The Legend of Korra, not being quite as embraced, but still a great show. So it's a weird one. It's almost like this the weirdness that we're talking about a lot in this episode, where we're trying to rehash old things but just making it weird. You guys, I want you guys hear your opinion on this, but Mav also watching the original one and then comparison. So it's something that I imagine the internet will be talking about for months to come.
It's always a red flag, when somebody wants to take an animated product and make it a live action product. I think if we go down the list of how many times that has happened versus how many times it's worked out well, where the live action product is watchable or good or great, I think is very rare. The original creators of Avatar were attached to this project from the get-go.
Oh, shit, really?
And then they very quickly bounced. They were like, this is not our vision. We don't we do not agree with the way that the direction the studio is taking this. We're out. Mm-hmm. That's a major red flag. If the original creators, the guys who made such a great show the first time, are like, we don't like what you're doing at all with this, it's probably because it sucks and it's not true to the source material. There's no point. What's the point of making? It's just a cash grab, dude. It's such an obvious cash grab. What's the point of taking a show? That show, anybody who's watched that show will tell you, it's a perfect show. Those first 3 seasons, for what they're trying to do, is a perfect show with good characters that are entertaining, memorable, good story arcs. It doesn't stay too long. It's a short, tight story of 3 seasons. And it's awesome. What is the purpose of taking that and then being like, let's remake it, other than just let's see if we can just cash in on the fact that this is what people do now, is they just remake shit because nobody can come up with anything original. And it sucks. It sucks that that's where we're at. And so when the reviews drop and they're like, oh, it sucks. Yeah, of course it does. Why wouldn't it? It'd be weird if it didn't suck. So I think that the original creators are attached to an animated film that Avatar is also going to come out with, but it's not Netflix, I don't think.
No, it's like them in their 20s or 30s, the original
Yeah,
cast.
them a little bit older. So that might be worth watching because that's like a continuation of the story and it's animated.
Mhm.
So maybe that's
Hopefully
worth
not
watching.
like hopefully not like X-Men 97. We're going to keep
No.
the same animation style, the same people,
Yeah.
bring them all back and rehash.
Sokka will now be non-gender conforming.
Oh my
His
god.
pronouns are they.
I mean, Zuko was probably one of the most disappointing characters in the new one because I love Zuko. He has a
Oh,
great
yeah, I like
character arc. Yeah, like greatest like bad
Honor.
guy. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my Zuko impression. Honor.
So
Alright, anyway.
it's always a thing when there's an adaptation of anything, book to movie, movie to show, cartoon to whatever it is. It's one thing when because it can be a thing where someone changes something, and that change is different. And if you love the source material, it being different might be a non-starter. But then there's changes where you can immediately point to and just be like, this is why it's worse. It's not that it's different, it's that it's different and it's worse. Jason, is part of it that the way they do it in the show is better, or is it just not true to what you fell in love with the original show?
I'm okay with you taking a slightly different spin, but don't change the main characters or what the characters are trying to bring to the table. Like why they wrote this character to be this way. And it's like Sokka was the first one that I was like, you're not that slapsticky Sokka comedic angle that you were in the first one. You know, it's just like if you can't embody that as far as we're going to a live action, that this is what this character was. He was the comedic relief. We're going to make sure he's this funny guy that everyone, when he comes on screen, you know, you get that laugh. They did not pull that off with him. So you're not even respecting the source material, what these characters are. So I think that's like a big flag. And I just mentioned Zuko being a great villain to good guy character arc. And you can already see that they're not respecting, you know, the original source material. So I think that's a big kicker for me because I'm okay with those characters having different journeys, but you got to realize that those characters are what drew so many people to it and then had them stay along for the ride, you know. And it's like multiverse stuff, you know, it's all about getting that core character but putting him into a different situation, you know. And this show is it's 3 seasons that are trying to wrap up into 8 episodes as well too. So I think they're trying to rush a lot of what it took a long time to create these great worlds, these great situations to put these characters into, and like let's just hit the main points, get this over with, and be done with it, you know. And so respecting the source material, I think, is what falls to everything that we've been talking about today.
So you will not be watching the rest of the episodes?
No, I'll watch them all. Yeah, I'll watch them all. It's something where it's like you have to. Yeah.
Rem, I assume you're not even remotely going to start watching this show.
Hell no.
Okay.
Now, I like the fact that we've brought Jason down to our level. That it took a while. It's
capable of
nice and
hatred.
positive about, but clearly we've gotten him to be the most upset in this episode.
More bitter by the moment, I think. Yeah.
But now I will give you some reprieve, some levity, Jason. The thing that has taken over your life: work more than your wife, more than your daughter. It's Palworld. It is the video game that has swept the world, literally. This video game.
With some Palworld.
For those that don't know, Palworld is Pokemon with guns. It is basically a low budget. It's made for only like some millions of dollars, like not a whole lot compared to other video games. And it has become a massive success. Where Pokemon has slowly but surely just become a stagnant franchise, a lot like Madden or formerly FIFA, now EAFC, just franchises that come out every year, Call of Duty, and they just have kind of lost their imagination. Jason, you are obsessed with this. You cannot stop playing it. Wait, that's not a lie. You said you stopped playing it, gave yourself a little break. Did you relapse?
Not at all. Yes. No, not yet. Yeah. Not yet. Yeah.
You have a 7-day chip?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because it's an alpha release. So this is the game not complete and bugs and crashes constantly throughout it. And the developers said, you know, we're just going to put this game out here. We want people to feedback and how you're doing it, and incredible responses from people because, like you said, it was filling a void that the Pokemon world has not done, and it's a lot of fun, and they do the whole crafting Minecraft kind of thing where you're collecting resources and building bases, and so it's hitting the points on every popular game right now, the Fortnites, the Minecrafts, even a lot of those first-person shooter elements as well too. So it's taking everything that's popular and kind of putting it into one, and so it's very smart with that aspect. And it's got a lot of work to go through because a lot of people, there's massive amounts of cheating because it's also an online game. So you can be in the same world with a lot of people and be collecting Pokemon and fighting each other in bases and stuff like that. So it's taking that element of Rust, I think, was a big one that that franchise did, that the survival, but online as well. So no, I had a lot of fun with it, and it's almost comical how much they're trying to rip off Pokemon, but at the same time be like, it's a different color scheme. This Pokemon looks like this. Remy, you got to put one up in editing, but it looks like this.
Oh yeah,
the different color, and it's like, you can't sue us for that, because this is red where that one's yellow, kind of thing. So it's almost funny how much they're like really like riding that line on it, but it's addictive, and they honestly created the game to be that. Like, once you do one thing, you have to keep going and do the next and next and next, and so it's fun, and it'll be 60 hours later when you're sitting there in 1 week, or multiple sessions, to get to that. But I highly recommend it, and it's a fun one to get down that hole and sunk into, because it's finally delivering on what we wanted out of Pokemon.
Rem, you have been as loyal a Pokemon player as there is. The latest games have turned you sour. So, what is your thoughts, and will you end up playing Palworld?
I believe this could be the best thing to happen to Pokemon in like 10 years. Pokemon has slowly devolved over the last 10 years into being less challenging and more fluff. Like, they can't come up with anything new to do that's good, so they just add more Pokemon, make more and more stupid, ridiculous looking Pokemon, and they get away from actually trying to make good, fun games with minor adjustments. And basically, and they have no motivation to do so, because Pokemon's owned by Nintendo, or is Pokemon solely, they're not owned by Nintendo, but Pokemon solely, sells games through Nintendo. So it's like having a monopoly on a product, really popular product, and Palworld is the capitalist fist that is coming to fix it, because Palworld has shown, hey, we just came up with this idea. We're making a more fun Pokemon game that you guys have made in millennia, and we're doing it on a fucking shoestring budget when Pokemon is, a several billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company. There's no reason they shouldn't be making awesome games. They came out with the open world games a year ago, and Scarlet and Violet, and their idea was to make it to make a story that includes the multiverse. It's a multiverse traveling Pokemon game, dude.
I did not realize that. Wow.
Dude,
wow.
It's literally, you're traveling through time, and then there's these old Pokemon that come through a different dimension, and then they show up to the main world. It's just like,
oh shit.
And then they released it, and there were glitches. It was like borderline beta. It's just and they do this while also their most heinous of crime is they refuse to release Pokemon Blue, Red, Leaf Green, any of those original first 3 Gen 4 games on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's super easy to do because barely an inconvenience because of a game we're about to talk about, which is Battlefront 2. These motherfuckers literally just decided, oh, hey, you guys want to play that game that was on PS2? Yeah, we're going to have that out for you next month. Meanwhile, Pokemon and Nintendo are just like, oh yeah, those games that everybody would buy immediately. If Pokemon Red and Blue dropped tomorrow, they'd be the hottest games of the year immediately. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to do that because then nobody will buy their new games because they're a bad product. And the only reason people buy their new games is because they want to play the latest Pokemon. So it just sucks that like this is what it's come to. But I super support Palworld. I think what they're doing is great. I think it's capitalism at its best.
That's a great way to put it.
With that being said, I do want to. I do not recommend Palworld to anyone right now.
Right.
Because it is a broken ass game, and you fall through the bottom of the worlds, and it's very frustrating. So give it a month or two till they clean it up, because they just got a shit ton of money from people buying this game, and the 3 guys that are probably developing this game are working very hard to like make it better. So yeah, give it like a month, and it'll be perfect.
Yeah, Rem, you are correct. This is, of all the problems that capitalism has, this is the best part of it, which is when you have a seemingly a monopoly of a tyrannical property. In this case, Pokemon, that or the aforementioned Madden, just franchises that used to be great, that they realize that they've wiped out the competition. They have exclusive rights to whatever the property is, and so they can just sit on their ass, not improve the product, and we just have to take it as consumers. But every now and again, someone rises up and challenges that, in this case, Palworld. And what's really cool is that you have something like Palworld, which is immensely popular, a lot of people are playing it, and then you have something like Kill the Justice League, Suicide Squad game, which has been an absolute failure, miserable live player statistics where very few people are playing this game because it was a live service game, which is the scourge of the industry. Video games that are predicated not to be a pay this amount, here's a full experience. Instead, it's pay this amount, keep coming back and playing more, and then buy more things for more coins, and keep buying and keep spending money. And that game has been a failure, whereas Palworld has been a success. And this is grassroots victory over the tyrannical powers that be.
Yep, I paid $25, and I don't see myself spending more in this game for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
To transition that to the ultimate pay one price, get a full experience game, God of War, and then we got the second God of War game, God of War Valhalla. Or wait a minute, God of War. What's the title?
Ragnarok.
Thank you, God of War Ragnarok. Great game, not quite the perfection that was the God of War that preceded it. But still an amazing experience. We recently got, out of nowhere it seemed like, God of War Valhalla, a free DLC that for a AAA game, which is almost unheard of. Remy, you have completed Valhalla. What is the Valhalla experience of the free DLC you get with God of War?
It's the greatest free DLC of all time. I don't even think there's a close second. It's unheard of to get free DLC at all on any game these days. It used to kind of be a thing back in the day, in like PS3 days. Sometimes you'd get some stuff, but it wouldn't be like a whole second. It's basically a whole second game, and it was. I mean, it raised my cortisol levels, that's for sure, because I played it on the hardest mode. For God of War is one of the games that I always play on the hardest mode I can possibly play, and it took me a while to get through it, but a really, really fun addition just out of nowhere. I have to imagine that they were developing parts of this while the game, and then they probably just thought like, no, let's just put this to the side, finish the game, and we'll come back to this after. I assume it's something more like that because it's so well developed and it doesn't feel like it was rushed or anything. And then they just dropped it out of nowhere. So I am super grateful. And I don't know if they're doing this to like buy good faith when they do ask us to pay for a DLC later down the road with one of this game or a future game, but I really appreciate it. And it was so much fun. It's a roguelite or roguelike.
Light, Lite.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it spelled both ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's a roguelite system where you're constantly going through this progression of trying to get to the final boss, and then every time you die, you got to go back to the start.
But it's something different. It's different every time you play it, though.
Slightly. It's not like complete, but yeah. Whereas different doors open. You go through this door this time, and then the next time you go through, you're gonna have some different bonuses and different weapon options. And so it's varied every single time you go through.
Oh, cool.
So sometimes you get to the end of it and you're like, sick, I love all my bonuses. I love how my weapons are set up. Like, I'm ready for the boss. And it's like, sometimes you get to the end and you're like, I am not ready at all. And then you die and you got to start all the way back over again. So, and it has its own little story. I didn't care that much about the story. I think it's fine for Kratos as an individual. I could give two fucks about Mimir and Sengren's fucking love story. I don't need any of that. But it's so much fun. Awesome. Thank you. Shout out to oh my god, I forget this. Santa Monica Studios for doing that for us. Super nice of them. I really appreciate it.
I wonder what it was, like why they would release a free DLC, because it's okay, have sales slumped, and then now they're like, this will bring people like me who's never played the game to buy the game because now I'm getting more for my buck. So I mean that's very rare, like you guys said, for a free DLC. So there's got to be some marketing angle behind that.
I mean, look at the numbers back. So if them releasing a free DLC like this then gets a spike in sales for the game, then maybe that will then incentivize them to keep doing that.
Like, I could see myself now being like, oh, I get more, I'll go ahead and buy that game since I never had it. So yeah, I could bring someone like me from the sidelines in, which, I mean, I don't have the console, so that makes it a little harder.
A little bit.
But if you did, then that would be a viable option.
I would, yeah.
DLC
what was your experience, Mav? How do you like it?
It was great. I mean, the rogue, and it's perfect. Roguelite is a perfect, and they also, so this must be like a Sony thing, because they did a Last of Us 2 remaster for the PlayStation 5, where if you already have the game, you can pay $10 and it gets slightly graphical upgrade for PS5. You get some little things here and there, but then it also has its own roguelike mode in that. And that's also a first-party game for Sony. So this must be someone from the top must have been like, let's start trying to do this. But it's a perfect mode. It's a perfect mode for DLC for a game that is already great with a great campaign, where you're getting this different mode, but there's a lot of replay value with that mode. It's not just, oh, here's another mission, and then you do a mission that takes an hour or two, and that's it. This gives you it resets all of your attributes and all of your powers, and you get to unlock things, and you can come up with different combinations and I used vastly different powers in my run-throughs with Valhalla than I did in my normal gameplay in the campaign, which is a really cool, rare thing. Normally, it would be like, oh, I'm just going to use the exact same powers, and once I get the upgrades, I'm going to just play the way I did. I played completely differently in Valhalla, and I think they did a really good job of adding that element to it. And it's just such a awesome. I mean, playing as Kratos is the closest thing you're ever going to do to playing as Thor from the MCU. It's full god powers. So it really is an amazing experience. The fact they did it for free, thank you, Santa Monica, for that. Save the best for last, because we're getting not a remaster, a re-release of one of the greatest video games of all time, Star Wars Battlefront 2. No, not the abortion.
EA.
The EA. It's not an abortion. It's not like an awful game or anything. But the EA Evil Empire that was the remaster or the remakes of Battlefront and Battlefront 2, where, hey, buy our game and then pay another $60 or $50 to get more maps, and they keep buying stuff, and just the game is not supposed to be this one-stop shop experience. Battlefront 1 was an amazing game, but Battlefront 2 really is the game, the Star Wars experience. If you're going to have multiple people playing a game with different maps and different characters, I'm very excited for this. Remy, what I texted you.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction when you found out about the Battlefront re-release?
You texted me and I was in the car about to go work out and I had just drank a whole can of Celsius. So I was just, the caffeine was cranking at the right moment. And I was just like, I literally felt like a fever dream of just like, I've been waiting for this for so long of like, why can't I play Star Wars Battlefront 2? I remember when Sony announced they were going to do the, what's it called on PS Plus now? The game system where you can stream games.
Oh, PlayStation Now?
PlayStation Now? Yeah.
Yeah.
When they announced that, I was like, what's the catalog of games going to be? Is Battlefront on there? Nope. Not interested. Like, that was my big thought was like, was there going to be Lord of the Rings games or were there going to be Star Wars games? And there were Star Wars games I was not impressed by, so swipe. So the fact that they're doing this is so fucking sick. I put so many hours into that Battlefront 2. Battlefront 1 I played a little bit, but it's not even, it's like, why play Battlefront 1 when you can play Battlefront 2? The galactic battles, the ability to fight to have sky battles and then also on the ground to fight as a bunch of Jedi or Boba Fett, and everybody has their kind of each individual little skill sets. It's such a complete game. All the different modes that you can play are so well done, and it's you can take your time with it. Has amazing replay value, and the fact that they're doing all of that and adding in massive online multiplayer mode, let's fucking go, dude. Midnight raids. I'm not sleeping anymore. You're not sleeping anymore. Jason, you're going to get a PlayStation and you're not going to sleep anymore. We're going to be playing this game for years.
I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a Star Wars fan and a video game fan, and I did not play any of these games. Like, I don't know how.
Crazy.
I don't know how. Like, I'm really, really upset with myself where I don't know if it was a genre that I looked at and I'm like, man, that's not kind of my angle, and I didn't, like, just go into it, and I should have, so I'm excited to experience this for the first time. It's going to be different for me to see it at this level, rather than seeing the upgrade version and be like, I can't believe this is amazing. So yeah, it might be the final trigger that makes me pull to get the new system.
You can get it, and the thing is, it's on PlayStation 4, so
yeah, Jason.
Why would I buy PlayStation 4
PS4
now when 5's out?
Well, no, I'm just saying if you wanted to go like get something cheap and quick, like a PS4 now, it'd probably be. But if you want to get PS5,
Jason,
go for it.
Give me $50. I'll give you my PS4.
Oh, that's right. You still have one, yeah.
I still have one. I have not
collecting dust underneath your PS5.
A lot of dust on that thing right now. It is coming to the Switch. I don't know, but that's the thing. The online experience for the Switch sucks, so I like that kind of.
Well, third-party games on the Switch, like I've been, like I think Mortal Kombat or something. I can't remember. Oh, right,
Mortal Kombat was a disaster.
Yeah, it's like every third-party game that I buy for Switch. I mean, honestly, the only things I buy for Switch are Mario games. It is like, why just use that for what it is? And I'll buy something else or buy it on Steam if I want to enjoy something else.
For anyone that's not familiar with Battlefront, basically you play, Remy already talked about it, but you play as all these heroes. If you want, like, you start a match and it's the Empire versus the Rebellion, and you get to be, one of 4 class of soldiers, one with heavy artillery or one with a regular blaster, and you can run around the map, try to take over points, kind of like capture the flag kind of things, and you try to outdo your opponent. You try to basically destroy them with might. And it goes back and forth. Sometimes you're winning, and then all of a sudden there's a comeback, and the variety of battles and the different locations that are beautifully recreated as battlefields is wonderful. I am very excited for this. The up to 64 online play. I think it's supposed to have slightly better frame rate, but whatever. Like, it really is. I didn't need a ground up remaster. This is a perfect re-release. The mechanics are the same, just simple. Basic fundamentals. This is a perfect game that encapsulates the music. One thing that stood out, this is such a niche me thing, but the movie game Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is a great movie game. Few movie games are. It was a great movie game. The problem I had with that game, where you play as Anakin and Obi-Wan, is that because the development of the game, for whatever reason, they didn't have the episode 3 music. So the game, they only had music from episode 1 and 2 and traditional Star Wars music so when you're in the final fight against Anakin or Obi-Wan, based on who you're playing as, they just have, damn it, what's the episode 1 lightsaber music? Damn, why I can't? I'm not being able to pull it.
Phantom of the Menace, the scene with Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon.
Yes.
Wait, you trying to think of the name of the song for that?
Yeah, it's
God. Just Google it real quick.
No. That Jason, that's the whole point. Is that we have to remember this. The sins of the Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates.
Thank you.
Yes, I've heard that before.
Thank you. So that's like the song they play for the Mustafar battle, which is just like, as a nerd Star Wars fan, I'm just like, oh, but that's not it. But Battle of Heroes is in Battlefront 2. So when you're fighting on Mustafar, that's playing, and if you're playing as Obi-Wan or whatever, and you're running, and there's all the troopers with you, and you're running across the lava field, like, it's really cool. And so the ultimate Star Wars experience, it's coming back March 14th. Remy's not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. Jason might get some sleep until he gets a PlayStation, but anything else anybody wants to tackle? Everyone's good?
I'm enjoying Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That just came out. It's a very like puzzle kind of game right now.
Yes, it's a remaster of it's not a remaster, but a remake of the original like Atari game.
No, I did a little research. I guess this game's been going on for years, but it's only been on mobile. So it's like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, all that sort of stuff. They've done a lot of the Mario versus Donkey Kong game. So this is the next one. Like number 4 or 5 in the series, which I didn't realize. So very puzzly, very one screen, get the key to the door, and you have to hit like a bunch of things across like 120 different levels. So but me and my daughter, 4-year-old, like 2-player, we can both be on the same screen and try to like solve the mystery and get to the door. It's been a lot of fun. Like me and her get frustrated. There's a time thing and she gets all anxious, oh, we got to get there in time. You get that key. I get it. It's actually, the 2-player version is a lot of fun, but like great mobile game. I could see myself playing this just on the road for years to come. So, but yeah, it just came out like last week or something as the newest Mario game, which is a precursor to Peach. What's the Mario or Peach Showtime or something? The first game to
Princess Peach's power.
Yes, the first game to star Princess Peach as the main character, and like 10 different like outfit changes that she goes into, from everything from cowboy to kung fu. So my daughter is like waiting for this. Like, when's it come out, Dad? I'm like, March 28th. She's like, when's that, Dad? I don't know date or months yet. So I'm like, a little while, baby girl. Let's just keep playing Donkey Kong. So the newest Mario game is at least entertaining for the time being.
I really hope they don't end up including that rumor that there's DLC, that there's going to be an OnlyFans Peach. That would be really just inappropriate. Not appropriate. With that, we are out of the Bugle.
Oh, God. No, you're ending it on that note.